Kick off episode 77 of the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes not so classic genre cinema of yesteryear with the song Midnite Surf. This comes from the German band Nite Impetus. It's from their EP release, The Old Haunted House. You can find out more about them over at niteimpetus.bandcamp.com. That is spelled NITEIMPETUS.bandcamp.com. Check him out. Let him know that you heard about him here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. I am your writer, host, and producer, Derek M. Cook. Welcome to the show. Happy to be here. Happy to be wrapping up Lucha de Mayo 2026 with you here on the show this week. We are, well, it was going to be a roundtable, but, you know, I announced it so late that people's schedules just didn't really mesh. We do start with 3 people, so I guess technically it is a roundtable, and then we go down to 2. Who's joining me? Who are these 3 that go down to 2? Well, it's me, it's Kenny, and then we got Matt Rashley coming in as well. Kenny's with us for a few, and then Matt and I wrap up talking about some more awesome luchador stuff. We tended to focus a little bit more on a Mil Mascaras joint, and, well, you'll just have to stay tuned to hear a little bit more about that. That'll be coming up later in this episode. Of course, it would not be an episode of Bride of Monster Kid Radio without Mark Matsky's Beta Capsule review, where he goes through every single episode of every single series of Ultraman. I don't know why I got confused there. I mean, it's the same thing he's been doing, and he's been doing it really, really well. It's so cool. Ultraman Taro is, like I said before, it is like my second favorite Ultraman series now. After listening to Mark, after watching the episodes, I don't think it's ever going to replace my beloved Ultraman 80. And, you know, Ultraman 80 is just the jam. But Ultraman Taro is so cool. And Mark, I think, thinks it's pretty darn cool, too. So stay tuned for that coming up later on in this episode. Before we get to that, though, I've been asking people to let me know how they're celebrating Lucha de Mayo. And, well, we got a voicemail from a Monster Kid Radio irregular. We haven't heard from him in a little while, and I'm glad to have heard from him because I was a little concerned that maybe, you know, something that he kind of does on the side, his extracurricular activities might have been, I don't know, gone south. You know what? I'm just going to play the voicemail.
Hello, Beth and Derek. This is Bad Shark Blackhand, the necromancer of New Mexico. What am I doing for Lucha de Mayo this year? Well, I've been listening to Bride of Monster Kid Radio and watching the great movies you have on your Twitch stream. I'd never seen Super Zan before, and Super Zan and the Space Boy is like one of my new favorite movies. It's just so cheesy and fun. I loved your first episode this month with the Doctor of Doom. I had to chase it down on YouTube. I watched the House of Grimm version and I loved it. Again, a great movie. Even if it's not a classic luchador movie, it's a great movie, and I'm really glad you put it on Bride of Monster Kid Radio this year. Now, listening to your most recent one on the Brainiac, I was not aware of this movie, and I'm going to have to chase that one down too. I definitely want a K. Gordon Murray Experience t-shirt. Or even better yet, perhaps design one of your Hawaiian-style button-up shirts for the K. Gordon Murray Experience. Like a tour, or perhaps one of the tour hands or tour organizers. I have your green and black as well as the orange and black Halloween shirts, and both of those garner me compliments wherever I go. Please keep up the good work. I really am enjoying Lucha de Mayo this year. I do have a bit of bad news. I cannot make Phoenix Fan Fusion this year. I have a grave appointment in a Nebraska cemetery.
Stay tuned, man, because I'm going to gush about Super Zan later on in this episode with Matt. There's just something super cool about this guy, his look, his mask, and the movie that he is in that we've been playing on the stream It's a little on the cheesy side, a little bit on the corny side, but again, this is something that Matt and I are going to talk about and how it's, not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's a great thing. Also, I hope you check out The Brainiac. I would love to hear what you think about that. It's such a great film. It's so good. I had so much fun this month visiting some of these Mexican horror movies and, of course, the luchador films, The K. Gordon Murray Experience. I can't get that thought out of my head. I'm brainstorming some ideas. Stay tuned. We will certainly do something there. And thanks for representing Bride of Monster Kid Radio and Team Death with the cool shirts that you've picked up. They're only cool because you bought them and you wear them. And I think they're cool. I hope you think they're cool. Check out deathdesigns.bigcartel.com. And remember, death is D-E-T-H. Derek and Beth, death. Anyway, check out deathdesigns.bigcartel.com. There's a link in the show notes. And, I never got around to raising the prices from what they were before I put them on sale for the holidays. I think I'm just going to let that ride for a little bit longer. $30 will get you a Hawaiian-style shirt. And a huge thanks to the person who just bought a whole bunch. You have no idea how much that means to us. It makes Beth and I very, very happy. So thank you for doing that. But go check that out. The Blackula shirt, I've gotten a lot of attention when I wear that one out and about. In fact, I was at a restaurant for a gathering of some friends, and the guy in line was taking pictures of me in the shirt. He didn't let me know. So when I turned around, he's like, dude, I'm taking a picture. Turn back around. It's just a cool shirt. And, it's Blackula. Blackula's just cool. Anyway, check that out again. Appreciate you supporting us that way. Gonna miss you at Fan Fusion, man. I'll talk about that here in a second because I've got another email to read, and I'm gonna bring Beth in to respond to that, and then we'll talk about some Fan Fusion stuff too. Hello, Derek and Beth. I very much enjoyed the latest episode on Curse of the Crying Woman. Wanting to delve into more Mexican horror, I recently picked up the indicator discs of Curse of the Crying Woman, The Black Pit of Dr. M, and The Witch's Mirror. After listening to your episode, I watched Curse of the Crying Woman the same night and loved it. It really does feel like the Universal horrors from a couple of decades before, right down to the cobwebs and dense fog, which hangs in the air so thickly I can only imagine how toxic it must have been to breathe on set, but in a hacienda instead of a castle. The haunted house aesthetic of the sets and the makeup and special effects feel like home to us monster kids, no matter the language. I have yet to watch The Witch's Mirror, which I have no doubt will also be excellent. As much as I enjoyed Curse of the Crying Woman, I think Black Pit of Dr. M is even better. It's a bit darker and more horrific, a gothic tale about a doctor obsessed with discovering the secrets of the afterlife with ghoulish consequences. The black and white cinematography by Victor Herrera is so beautifully rich in contrasty, is that a word? With deep shadows and stark whites. Every frame looks like a panel of Bernie Wrightson art. Something to keep in mind for the next Lucha de Mayo. All the best, Brian. Brian is a Monster Kid Radio irregular. Thanks for writing in. And I actually brought Beth into the room to respond to this email. What do you think?
Well, first of all, thanks for writing in, Brian. We always love to hear from our monster kids, and I completely agree with you on Curse of the Crying Woman. I have heard of it's The Witch's Mirror. The Witch's Mirror. I've heard of that. I've not seen it, but I've heard that's good. So I'm excited to see that one as well. And based on your recommendation, I think we have a Dr. M movie to...
The Pit of the Black Pit? Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I think we have another movie to watch, and maybe we need to have Brian on to talk about it.
Ooh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
A lot.
We love getting our Monster Kid irregulars on the air with us. So, yeah, Brian, why don't you send us another little email and let us know when might be a good time for that, because we'd love to watch that and talk to you about it, since you clearly have both knowledge and a sincere love for the movie.
That said, we don't have to wait a year to do that.
No.
We can record it and put it, on deck for next year.
We can hide it in the dungeon till we're ready to use it.
Oh, I like that. So we do have Kenny coming on this episode later on, and during that conversation, he did mention a movie that we're going to talk about next year as well. So it looks like we're already planning for Lucha de Mayo 2027.
I love it. And don't worry about Derek's little comment there, Brian. Anything can be a word if you use it strongly enough.
I'm sure contrasty is really a word. It just felt weird coming out of my mouth. I've only had one cup of coffee today.
That's true.
So, Lucha de Mayo is over.
I know. I'm so sad. I mean, what are we going to do next month?
I'm sure there's plenty of movies we can watch.
Do you mean it? Really? Do you promise?
You're going out of town.
I am. I'm headed up Portland way and maybe try to make a stop in at our favorite, the Joy Cinema, while I'm up there, and definitely see all of our Monster Kid friends up in the area, as well as family and other friends.
And while you're there, I'll be covering Fan Fusion.
Yeah.
We do have our media passes there, and should we talk about Gathering of the Ghouls real quick?
We can. Yeah, definitely.
I did get an email. We have been approved for our panel.
Fantastic.
So when I know more, I'll mention it here. But Gathering of the Ghouls is coming up here in a couple months.
Yeah, at August.
August. I'll double check the date.
Mid to end of August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing a panel. The panel is classic monster movies for modern horror fans.
Love it.
Beth and I have already brainstormed quite a bit. I know we've talked about this topic before, but it'll be a fun conversation to kind of revisit. And depending on what kind of tech we'll have, I might even do like a PowerPoint or something.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. I started doing PowerPoint at work, and I kind of remembered how much I enjoyed doing it, which is such a nerdy thing. I love doing PowerPoint, but really, it was fun. So we'll get to it. Speaking of Fan Fusion, I played the voicemail earlier. You didn't hear it, but Bad Shark Blackhand did also call in about Lucha de Mayo. I know you weren't in the room for this when I played it and responded to it. He will not be at Fan Fusion because he's got a grave appointment in Nebraska, he said.
Hopefully not too grave.
I mean, he is a necromancer.
Oh, so you can you bring yourself back if you...
I just want him to shoot an unboxing video.
Wow. Well, anyway, if you like what we've been doing, if you like what you hear this week, drop us a line, send us a voicemail. Get in touch with us, light up your Ouija board. Whatever you got to do to get your message to us, because we love to hear from our monster kids.
monsterkidradio@gmail.com, or our voicemail line, which is a lot easier than setting a Ouija board on fire. Is 360-524-2484.
But not nearly as fun.
How many Ouija boards have you set on fire?
I plead the fifth.
On that note, why don't we get on to the rest of the show? We've got Mark Matsky waiting in the wings. So, Mark, let's get some Ultraman action going, and then you're going to hear what started as a roundtable with Kenny, Matt, and I. Kenny was only there for a few minutes, but Matt and I are going to talk some more about some luchador stuff coming up right after this.
The Witch's Mirror. Since the beginning, witchcraft and black magic have existed. See an insane killer steal the bodies of beautiful young women from their graves. Horrible curses come to reality in The Witch's Mirror. See a doctor restore a maiden's beauty after being disfigured by the mirror's curse. See horror never before brought to the screen in The Witch's Mirror.
Night has fallen, and the time has come to experience terror at Collinwood, a podcast dedicated to the iconic Gothic television series Dark Shadows. Terror at Collinwood explores the hidden secrets within the sinister walls of the Collins estate. Hosted by two-time Rondo Award-winning television horror hostess Penny Dreadful, the podcast features interviews and in-depth discussions with fans and creators as they examine the cursed characters and supernatural storylines of that creepy classic, Dark Shadows. Beware the night and the restless dead who wail on Widow's Hill, and prepare yourself for Terror at Collinwood, a Dark Shadows podcast. Available at terroratcollinwood.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, Seance, The I Ching, or wherever you get your scary podcasts.
Live from the Land of Light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Bride of Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. Ultraman Taro, Episode 35, Fatal Attack, Taro's Strike of Anger. Original air date, November 30th, 1973. While on patrol of Area A16, Kotaro rescues a little girl who had run into traffic to save a dog. Her name is Machiko, and she shares a tragic tale in which her brother had died doing the same thing, and in a strange twist of fate, his name was also Kotaro. After ensuring her safety, Kotaro continues his route, only to encounter an alien driving a car. A high-speed chase ensues, which results in Machiko being injured and taken to the hospital. Regaining consciousness, she asks Kotaro to get her an Ultra 7 doll, which he does, but on his way back to see Machiko, he's attacked in a hit-and-run incident. Even with a broken wrist, he tries to return to her side, only to be struck by a falling construction elevator. Machiko visits Kotaro in his hospital room, and there it is revealed that she is possessed by alien Catan, whose ambition is to defeat Taro and obtain planet Earth. After the epic scope of the previous two episodes, Fatal Attack returns to a local level, grounding the action in city streets, hospitals, and school playgrounds. At the heart of the story is the special bond between ZAT, especially Kotaro, and kids like Machiko, who admits that she likes Kotaro even more than Ultraman Taro. That is contrasted with the disturbing premise of a child made to engage in horrible activities. One of the lasting images of episode 35 is of Machiko's hand holding a knife under possession of alien Catan. Thankfully, ZAT arrives before any damage can be done. Fatal Attack also puts Ultraman toys at the center of things. The product placement is nothing new to the Ultraman franchise, with vinyl figures appearing on screen as far back as the original series. Episode 35 makes it a point to say, through the character of Machiko, that girls can enjoy Ultraman merch as much as any boy. A message both heartwarming and potentially profitable. For Bride of Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Matsky reporting.
Samson and the Vampire Women. Deep in the bowels of the earth live the most savage and vicious of all women. They capture, they drain the blood from human beings to make themselves beautiful in Samson and the Vampire Women.
These two blue marks close together on the victim's neck are what have me puzzled, Inspector. Besides that, we didn't find one drop of blood in the corpse. Why, you could swear that a vampire murdered the girl.
Hey, now that I think about it, I'll bet those monsters were vampires, Doc.
See mighty Samson set fire to the vampire's cave in Samson and the Vampire Women.
On the whole face of the earth today, there is no place more terrifying than the Valley of Guanji. In Technicolor.
This is Count Vlad, but you may recognize me by my more familiar name, Count Dracula, and I'm here to offer you a friendly warning. Derek and his guests often get excited and occasionally this results in revealing key plot points of the movies they're discussing. In your parlance, you might call these revelations spoilers. You know how the children of the night, monster kids, can get sometimes. So consider yourself warned, and don't come begging to me to kill them for their transgressions afterward. I have more pressing issues to take care of, like that pesky Van Helsing.
Hey, listeners, we're going to forego a lengthy introduction here because we only have one of our guests for about 20 minutes or so. I've got Kenny and Matt here with us. We're going to talk about some luchador stuff to conclude Lucha de Mayo 2026. Yeah, 2026. That's right. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Good. Matt, how are you?
Great. Happy to talk some Lucha Libre.
We got some titans of Monster Kid Radio past here. Monster Kid Radio Irregulars. Yeah, Monster Kid Radio Irregulars. I'm still working on one cup of coffee, man. I want to thank everybody for being here. And Kenny is only here for a few minutes, but I wanted to get him in here because we haven't had him on this month yet, man. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Hanging in there, yep.
Doing anything fun for Lucha de Mayo?
June 6th, which is after May, but it's close enough. We're going to have a visit in my little desert town from Blue Demon Jr. He's coming to us after 5 years. He was here 5 years ago, and I thought that would be the last time because he's in his 50s now, but he's coming back. I'm not sure if he's actually going to wrestle or not, but he's going to be in town, so we're excited about that.
I suspect he can still go.
Yeah, he'll probably do something. I'm sure. Yeah, the last time he was here, it looked a little rough. He's getting up there, and of course his body has been battered and smashed over the years, and it's got to be hurting a little bit more, but he's still going strong, and I see him all the time doing kind of signings and visiting things, and he has his gallery in Mexico City, and so I follow him, and actually last July I actually went to the gallery. It was beautiful. He wasn't there at the time, but they have a lot of stuff going on all the time. So he's still going strong and promoting the luchador spirit in Mexico.
How cool is that? That's awesome. I have not seen anybody connected to the big three, Santo, Blue Demon, or Mel Mascaras in person. I've seen a few luchadors now, having been to some indie wrestling shows. And a couple of years ago, I saw some people here at a show here in Arizona. But nobody connected like that. That's so cool. And I'm going to live vicariously through the photos that I'm sure you're going to send me.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll do a little live stream.
Ooh.
I did last time he was here, got in the front row, which was a lot of fun. But this time I'm going to get the wide angle and get from the top of the gymnasium where they're going to do it and see it from a different angle this time. So I'll try to send some live video maybe to the Monster Kids.
Oh, that would be awesome. Now, he's not done movies, though, right? He's strictly done rings and some television appearances.
I think he did. I think he was in one movie. I cannot recall what it is, but I feel like I've seen his name related to one movie, but I think it was just a cameo appearance type thing. But no, as far as I know, he hasn't done. He did a TV show for a while. That was part of one of those, almost like a reality luchador show. Yeah, he hasn't done a lot of movies.
I think, now that I think about it, I think he did appear in a cameo role in one of the later Mil Mascaras films. Now that I think about it, towards the end, there's a scene where Mil calls all of his luchador buddies to go raid the temple or whatever, and a whole bunch of them show up for a cameo, and I think Blue Demon Jr. turns up in that. I haven't watched it in a while. Darn, I guess I'll have to go back and rewatch it.
Don't suffer too much.
Kenny, we typically have you on this month, and you usually drop the Blue Demon knowledge, but you've brought Santo films as well. I know that we've talked about this in the past, but you're basically a Blue Demon guy, right?
Yeah, no, I wasn't really particularly into either one of them, and then the dub of Santo versus the Martians, and I became a huge fan of that particular movie, having to watch it multiple times to be able to do all the translation and then lay down that translation and everything. And it was fun. It just proved to me that the more you see a movie, sometimes you'll grow to love it more and more. And that's what I had with that. Now, my fandom of Blue Demon began when I met Blue Demon Jr. and I had a weekend with him when he went to Monster Bash. And I was contracted by Ron Adams to be his translator. And it was the fall bash, and they had just started them up again. So it was a slow time. He said, let's go to Pittsburgh. He wanted to go see the Steelers. So we got in an Uber and drove down to the stadium, and we couldn't get in. It was sold out, and they wouldn't let us in, and we went there after halftime. And so he said, I said, what else can we do? And I said, the Andy Warhol Museum's close. So we went and saw the Andy Warhol Museum, and then took a walk downtown, ate at an Indian restaurant. I was there with him and his wife, and we just had a great time. And he was just like, he made a fan because he was so kind and open to, talking about his life, and almost the whole time without his mask. And to me, that's just like a super privilege that a few people have, because he is constantly masked. He was unmasked, the privilege to be able to get to know him that way. It made a fan out of me. And the reason when I started doing the Blue Demon movies on your show was I wanted to get to know his father and try to see, because when I asked Blue Demon Jr., what do you think is the best movie your dad did, and he mentioned one of the movies he was with Santo, and that same movie was being shown at that Monster Bash that year, and I was like, but this doesn't seem like the best one for his father, because he was like a zombie throughout the movie and he didn't have a lot of lines. I thought, no, I want to see his solo films. Is this really his best film? And that's when I started with you watching the solo Blue Demon movies and trying to figure out, is that really the best one? And I don't think it is. I really have enjoyed watching the solo movies. They're corny, they're crazy, but they're a lot of fun, and he does pretty well in them. So that's why now I really consider myself more of a Blue Demon fan. In fact, we had got a car donated to us, and it was a mess on the outside, and I said, I'm going to paint that blue. And I let my daughter use that car, and I said, but one day I'm going to get a decal and stick it on the hood, the Blue Demon. No, you can't do that. I'm the one driving that car. Okay, I won't do it.
That would be cool, though. Okay, now I want to see that. You said they're corny and crazy, but Kenny, I'm going to fall back on something that you've basically got me to believe, that the only bad movie is a movie that's boring. These movies are never boring. They may be corny and crazy and silly. And I'm about 10 minutes to the end of watching Triumph of the Champions of Justice. And that one is corny and silly and crazy, but it's fun. I'm never bored, man. In fact, I wish I had started it earlier so I could have finished it before getting to this.
Yeah, I think if we took all the episodes I've done and we counted the number of times that we call the movie fun, it would probably be a record for podcast history.
True.
They're like amusement park rides. They're just a lot of fun, unexpected things happening. And that's the way Mexican cinema and TV is in general. Or just like they throw in the kitchen sink all the time. The sentimental ones are making you cry, and the funny ones make you laugh like crazy. And the action ones, they get you going too. And that's been my experience with all of Mexican cinema, as I've studied some of the different genres in the classic era. There are a lot of like melodramas are super melodramas, and comedies are super comedies, and that they throw in the kitchen sink every time. And that's what's great about these luchador movies. There's no subtlety to them. They are just wild and crazy.
You got any questions from Kenny, Ben?
No, I just love the fact that he's a big Blue Demon fan, because Blue Demon was the first one I think I really identified with, enjoyed watching. Maybe being a shorter guy and him being the shortest of the big three. I don't know. I also think that he's really good in acting and helping you identify with him and his challenges and all the things he's dealing with, be it mad scientists or Martians or vampires or anything in between. So that's been great. It must have been a real treat being with his son.
Yeah, yeah. He was just what I learned about him is just he's a person who's, if you're with him and you're just getting to know him, he has the personality to make you a fan. That's just the way he was. His voice, his mannerisms, his personality. It was just he's like a perfect, what would be the word? His personality is just perfect to win you over. And beyond his wrestling ability and the fun you have watching him wrestle, to get him know him as a person was just like, okay, you've done it. You made me a fan. And then consequently, you'd become a fan of his dad too, because he's like an extension of his father. But it was interesting during our time. He was lamenting sometimes the fact that he always had to wear a mask, and it's like, people don't know who I really am. And there was a time he really got intimate with me as far as his feeling of always having to be hiding his face, and that was touching as well. Just to that he would open up to me in that way. We just met that weekend, and we ended up being like friends when it was done.
There.
One thing I want to share too. This year, we went down. We met Vanessa Harryhausen, in Tucson. One of the things I did for Monster Bash was I made this video where they did the prehistoric Monster Bash, and I did this crazy video where I played the grandson. No, it was the ninth son of Santo, right? And I would wear a mask, and I did this video where I did the mask. I took my shirt off, and I did this video, and I made a video where Santo fights Guanji from Valley of Guanji, the Harryhausen film. And it's just a wild and crazy short where it has every element of both. But first, we see a wrestling match. We see Santo traveling someplace, and he talks a little bit, and then he fights. Then we see Guanji taking over the town, and then we see Santo coming in and ripping Guanji's head off. And so I had that video on my phone, and I showed it to Vanessa, just to say, I just want to show you this little video I did, just this fun thing I did.
You didn't tell me you showed that to her. Oh, no.
Yeah. I did a lot of crazy stuff. The interview that I presented to everybody was cut down to about half an hour, but we were together for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, between me and her crying and going through different things. That was one of the things that I did, is I showed her that video. So she got some luchador spirit there. And it was funny because she said at the end, "Oh, you killed Guanji." That's like that was her favorite creature, right? And you killed Guanji. And I was like, yeah. And I thought, yeah, but your dad killed Guanji, burning him slowly to death. And I just ripped off his head, and it took 2 seconds. Hey, my death of Guanji was more merciful than your dad, so stop complaining. I didn't say that to her then. I didn't think about it then, but that's what I'd say now. So that was kind of cool, to be able to share a little bit of Mexican wrestling with an English lady, the daughter of Ray Harryhausen. So it was kind of cool.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I had no idea you did that. That's so cool. You live in Mexico, so I got to ask, and I think we've talked about this or danced around this before. Were mummies really that big of an issue back in the 60s and 70s, man? They seem to be all over the place, and you need so many luchadors to keep them in check.
Yeah, no, it's funny, throughout my years here, I have never met a Mexican monster kid. I've never seen any kind of nostalgia for it. Their stuff about them is hard to find. At one point, I was asking my sister-in-law, who lives in Mexico City, "Hey, can you find me some of Santa stuff here and things?" And she said, "I'd go to all these different stores where you think you'd find something, and they would laugh at me when I would ask for stuff." So it's lost its luster. I think there's more classic luchador fans in the United States than there are in Mexico sometimes. I know they're out there, but I haven't met any. In my town, last time the Blue Demon came, I was surprised. I went and bought my ticket. The first day I saw that poster, I went and bought my ticket, and I was like, oh man, it's going to be packed. And I went 2 hours early, and I took a little chair to wait to be first in line, because it was going to be like first come, first serve, the best seats. And it just didn't fill up. And I was like shocked that this big wrestling star came to our town and it didn't fill up. So I'm impressed with the people that put on these shows, that keep on doing it, even though I just feel like the crowds aren't as big as they could be. But with the mummies and stuff, again, I don't know. I went to see the mummies of Guanajuato. Like, there's actually a place where people were buried in a certain way, and because of the salt and everything else in that particular area, they were mummified. So that's a real thing, and that's a real part of the town that's called Guanajuato. And my wife and mother-in-law, we went and visited, and we went to see the mummies of Guanajuato. But they weren't moving around. They're still dry and stuck there. They didn't have to fight any of them, but they're there. But is it a problem now? No. We have other types of problems.
Well, see, you're there. They're afraid you're going to put on the Santo mask and rip their heads off. See,
yeah. And then when Santo rips heads off in my movies, he takes out the spinal cord as well.
I think you've sent that to me and we've played it on the stream before. Maybe we'll drop it into the stream again. I need to update the 5 Luchador movies that are in rotation right on there right now. So maybe I'll drop that in there if I can find it. I have to find which hard drive it's on.
Yeah, I need to see that.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
It's a fun little short, man.
Yeah, I'll get you the link again, and you can. I think I still have it online somewhere, and if not, I'll get you the video or however I do it.
I know you've got to get going here soon, but I want to ask you one other question. How badly have Matt and I butchered Mexican names?
I think, Matt, that's pretty good if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, sometimes you're struggling a little bit with the R's and all that. But
I can't roll my R's, man. I try so hard. Or my tongue's just not that limber.
Yeah, but I haven't. There's one of the guys this year seemed to do really well.
Robert Kelly, probably.
Yeah, he seemed to know some Spanish, the way he was pronouncing them. But it's the thing about Spanish, it's easy to learn if you learn what each letter sounds like. It's always the same in every word. So if you get that phonetic aspect of it, you can read Spanish out loud, not know what you're saying, but read it well. But it's a matter of learning the sound of each letter. And of course, the accents are all different. So sometimes if you listen to someone that's from Spain, there's all their S's are like THs. Like they're saying instead of s, and there's different accents from all over the Caribbean, all over Latin America. The accents are as different as American accents are. Of course, the Mexican accent is the perfect one. That's what I know. Of course, the Spaniards would say no. All right, our accent is better. It's okay, whatever. But yeah, but you guys do fine. And if it gets really bad, I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, I've gotten a few comments on, I think, a YouTube video or somewhere. Somebody made a comment about how badly I was butchering them. So I wanted to talk to an expert.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you did. I haven't heard anything too bad where I'm like, oh, I wish they had called me. I could have told them how to do it. Or you can get me to say it. And then whenever you get your turn to say it, you just pop my thing in. Kenny's saying the names.
I'll create a Kenny soundboard, the Kenny Luchador soundboard. That's all the different names and everything. Oh man, I will try harder between this year and next year to figure out how to. I don't know if I can get my R's to roll. Maybe there's a surgery I can get, but I'll do something.
I think the one struggle, I think that it might have been you, it might have been someone else, but the one struggle is con Germán Robles. Germán Robles.
Yeah, no, that would have been a Beth and I episode. No, that was you and me, Matt.
No, it was last week.
Yeah, like the G at the beginning of a word, like a Germán, and then a Robles. When the R is at the beginning of a word, it's like a double R, so it's a Robles. Germán Robles. Germán Robles.
You got that, Matt?
I did. Now we can talk about all of his vampire movies.
There you go. And I got Kenny saying it a few times, so I can start that soundboard.
Yeah, and there's one movie that if you had asked me, oh, we're doing the Mexican month, but we're not doing luchador movies, I have a movie I'd like to talk about someday.
What is
La Loba, where it's a very short werewolf movie, 2 she werewolves fighting it out, jumping around, and this absolutely wacky, fun, atmospheric little werewolf movie. La Loba.
1965, and everybody, you hear that? We're putting a pin on that one for Kenny and I to talk about next year during Lucha de Mayo 2027. Hey, at least I haven't said Lucha de Mayo this year like I used to.
You just did.
I did to get the point, but to make the point.
Yeah, it's not about mayonnaise, man. It's about mayo.
Well, Kenny, man, I know you got to get back to work. I appreciate you taking some time to chat with us for a few and talk a little bit more about Blue Demon. I know we've talked about Blue Demon Jr. and your experiences with him on the show in the past, but I just love hearing about it because it just sounds amazing, man. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for having me, and look forward to hearing it. And we'll listen to you on The Bride of Monster Kid Radio.
There we go. Thanks, Kenny.
Bye-bye.
All right, Matt, you heard Kenny mention how to say the name of Germán. I can't do the R. Robles. You got it? You think you got it now?
That sounded bueno to me.
Bueno? Oh, man, I'm never going to get it. I'm going to try. I need to do better. I need to do better. How has this month been for you?
It's been good. I've seen a few movies that I hadn't seen before, and I've enjoyed listening and having the opportunity to really enjoy these movies with other people who also appreciate them for what they are. And I'd like to think that we're helping spread the love with these psychotronic, surreal, wonderful pictures that not enough people know about.
Yeah, that's true. And I wish you and I had reconnected the year that a group brought in some of the Luchador movies over a period of 3 months at the Hollywood. We got to see Versus the Monsters and a few others on the big screen. I went with Tom. I think Ray Jelinek was there. A few other people were there as well. And it was just a real treat to see them on the big screen presented that way. I know there is a Hispanic community, a Latinx community up in Portland that did turn out for those. But Kenny said too, I feel like there's a lot of us gringos who just love these films too, which I think is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever helps celebrate these pictures and get them seen is a benefit for everybody.
Yeah. For sure. I adore them. I get to talk about them here on the show, of course, but yeah, I won't shut up about it. If somebody brings up anything tangentially related to wrestling at work, at some point I'm going to start talking luchadors, and that ultimately leads to talking about these movies, usually beating up Dracula and Frankenstein, just because that's just fun. Or the Mummies. The Mummies of Guanajuato is just one of the best.
Oh, yeah. To me, the Mexican mummies are the scariest.
Yeah.
Just because... Maybe because they're lesser known and the makeup effects and the costumes. I found all of the mummies, like the Mummies of Guanajuato, great movie. And I found the mummies genuinely scary. I need to watch more Mexican mummy movies for sure. I'd love it if some of the theaters here in town would do another Lucha Cinema day or night with several films. Doesn't seem like it's happened here in a few years. There have been other places in the country that have. I know that the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana, California, will generally do, what do they call it? Mex Trash Night, where they'll do a series of movies where they will show Mexican horror films and Santo films. I saw the Texas Theater in Dallas did some Lucha Cinema last year. So there's other people out there who love this stuff. And it's great to know that there are independent movie theaters that are willing to put them up on the big screen where they're meant to be seen. I have yet to see any of these films in a theater, but if the opportunity comes along, I'm going to take it because, and you can definitely fill me in, but I'd imagine watching these films with a crowd of enthusiastic fans must be amazing.
It was awesome. Now, you did see Doctor Doom with Jeff.
That's true. Yes, that's true. Thanks for the reminder. Doctor of Doom at the Joy Cinema in Tigard, a home away from home for us movie kids here in the Portland area. And I think there was, 30 or 40 folks. And it was a lot more fun being with people who were cheering on the wrestling and laughing along and enjoying the show.
Yeah. And I do remember I got to introduce Mil Mascaras versus the Aztec Mummy there once during a Weird Wednesday. That was the year that I showed up in a lucha mask and was wearing my suit jacket and just kind of doing the luchador thing. And that was a lot of fun. And it is a real experience to see these movies in a crowd. There's just something, and here we are, we're going to add some talk about wrestling in general. A lot of wrestlers will talk about getting energy off the crowd when they're performing, when they're in the ring competing, doing their thing. And I feel like that kind of energy happens whenever we're watching a wrestling movie or a luchador movie where we have the crowd kind of giving energy to the experience overall. There's just this just kind of unseeable, unnameable kind of energy that comes up when we watch a movie like this, more so than any other movie. Like Beth and I just went to go see the new Star Wars movie last night. There were a number of us in the theater, but it's not like having the crowd there made it better. Watching Mil Mascaras versus the Aztec Mummy with a crowd made it better. I'd seen it before at home. I have it on DVD. I watch it occasionally, probably more than most, but it just made it better. It was just awesome. So listeners, if you get a chance to see any of these films, any luchador movie at all in a theater setting with a crowd, man, you're in for an even bigger treat than just watching the movie straight. I got to tell you, it's so good. So good, especially the wacky color ones. There's something about a color luchador movie that just draws me in more than the black and white. And I like the black and white, and I'm a black and white cinema guy. I dig it. But there's just something about the color that draws me in even more. Have you noticed the difference between the two?
Yeah, you and I are on the same wavelength here. I love black and white cinema. I think it works really well in these movies, but there is something more catchy with the color ones, especially with the bright costumes, especially like with Mil Mascaras and Superzan and all these guys. And we're talking about the Champions of Justice. Those movies just pop. The color carries it over to another level. It kind of reminds me of the Adam West Batman in a way, where everyone leans into making things brighter and having everything pop. And it makes for a good watching experience for sure.
Yeah, I think part of it's the costumes. They just kind of get wild for both the villains and the heroes. The Lucha are always going to have the flashy masks and costuming, and especially Mil. Once you get into the 70s, things are just so flashy and colorful, and I love it. That's not to say I don't like the black and white ones. I do. But there's a reason why I've been running the color ones on the Twitch stream.
And you being a big fan of Mil Mascaras, like, it seems like he came into Lucha cinema right when color was becoming a thing.
True.
Doing these films in color. And I wonder if that's part of it too.
It might be. It might be. And you wanted to talk about Mil a little bit too. And I'm not sure. I think Mil Mascaras might be the one that I saw first, which might be part of the reason why he's my favorite of the big three. I think a lot of times, whatever is your first is the one that kind of forms your opinion and your tastes and becomes your favorite. Happens with Godzilla movies, happens with these movies. It's not saying I don't like Santo and Blue Demon. I do quite a bit. But there's just something about the Mil Mascaras films that just I dig, man. I don't know if it's because I get to see multiple masks. The man is a master. Come on.
And that move of pulling off mask over mask, like, that is one of the best physical special effects I've ever seen. And I'm saying that from a guy who's seen thousands of movies with special effects in it.
Yeah. Yeah. That swap the mask while facing the camera without revealing his face. His real identity is known. People know his real name, but I don't think I've ever seen even any leaked photos of what he looks like without a mask. In fact, that's the one thing I disliked about one of the movies. I think it might have been Academy of Doom, which is a follow-up to the Aztec Mummy movie that he did recently, where at the end, he and the female lead love interest get together in a hotel room, and the last shot is like a shot of the bed in the hotel room, and you see her mask being flung onto the bed and then his mask being flung onto the bed. Like, he just took his mask off. Now, we don't see it, but Mil, what are you doing? You took your mask off, man.
All in the name of love.
Sure. There is that one leaked TV image of Santo without his mask. And there's been theories over the years that maybe that was intentional, that he knew he was towards the end and wanted to reveal, but who knows?
Yeah.
And
speaking of Mil, one movie that was new to me that I watched for Cinco de Mayo 2026 was The Vampires of Coyoacan.
Yes.
And that was great in vivid color.
It was. It's him and Superzan. And I am starting to really like Superzan.
Me too.
Superzan is awesome. I tried to do a little bit of research on Superzan, and I can't find a lot, but I really like his wrestling style. In fact, of all the luchadors, now you look at Santo and Blue Demon, right? They're kind of like these barrel-chested, big sluggers. They've got a couple of moves, or maybe they get off the ground a little bit and a few stretches here and there, but they're brawlers, right? Mil is a little bit of that, but a little bit top rope stuff. But Superzan seems to be the closest in terms of almost a contemporary style of wrestling, where he's doing stuff off the ropes. He's getting out of the ring. He's going into the ring. I'm liking this guy a lot.
Yeah.
And his costume's cool. I like his mask.
Yeah. That was one thing about The Vampires of Coyoacan, is that it opens with probably, I feel like, the longest in the ring wrestling of any of the movies I've seen so far.
It's long. It's got a lot of padding. And I liked the movie, but it's got a lot of padding.
Yeah, I go back and forth on that. There are other times where I've watched Lucha movies where I kind of feel like the pacing and the plot take a dip when we go into the ring sometimes. but I've adjusted the way I think about that. Because in one sense, all of these wrestling matches that were done for the movies or the ones that were just filmed and added to the movies, like for those that are really into wrestling or the historical context of wrestling in Mexico, like it's really a great history lesson. Like history's been captured in cinema for everybody to be able to go back and look at and appreciate and enjoy. So I don't want to think of it as necessarily like an intermission in a movie, but I try to take into account all the additional context that goes with all these wrestling matches and all these wrestling greats who got to wrestle on film.
Yeah. And that's pretty special, especially 50s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s, where you didn't necessarily have wrestling on once a week, twice a week, or whatever. These performers, I hope they got paid well to appear on film to wrestle, and good for them. It gave the boys a chance to earn a few bucks doing what they love, and that's awesome too. It's so neat. It's so neat. I've been going back and watching a lot of wrestling from the 80s, Japanese wrestling from the 80s, actually. And it's just cool to kind of see the historical context and the way the crowds and the pop culture embraced them. And to see this big, long wrestling match at the beginning of this film, you get to see it all. You see a couple of luchadors doing their thing. You see a couple of rudos or heels doing their thing. It's great.
Oh, one of the most epic rudos of Lucha Cinema's in this. Frankenstein.
Yeah. Oh, Frankenstein, he's great too.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember his name. He was in a lot of films. And he had such a unique look. He was big and bald, which made him stand out.
Yeah.
Oh, Daniel Leon.
Yep. I was just looking him up to grab him. Yeah.
Yeah. And that little subplot of him coming in and what was the name of the wrestler he took on? The one who was trying to make his claim in the ring. What was it? He had a really great mask. It was white with red and blue stripe, and
it's the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had his
Sector?
Maybe. I just the whole drama of him trying to make it as a wrestler so then he was going to get married, and all he had to do was win this match, and things didn't work out for him.
No, he did not survive. Yeah, Nathaniel Leon appeared in, a lot of them, not just luchador films, but even did some TV up here in the States. He appeared in an episode of I Spy.
Wow.
Yeah. But he was a big dude. Was it Mr. Tempest, maybe?
I want to say, I thought China was in the title, or Chinese something. I can't remember.
I have to go back and rewatch it.
It was a good wrestling match.
Yeah.
But then the movie does a 180 and we go in a whole different direction.
This one, yeah, there's that little subplot bit, but really the story, it's a vampire story. And there's a lot of the traditional vampire stuff. There are corpses, they're drained of blood. There is a guy who has designs on the daughter of, so it's
yeah, but
I'm dancing around it because I don't want to spoil too much of it, even though I'm sure I gave the spoiler warning. But it's
the connection between the beginning with the wrestling match and the dying wrestler and getting to the vampires was the fact that the vampires were preying on the dead wrestlers for their machismo blood, for their strength, and for the bodies of the wrestlers. And then it turns rather dramatically with the vampire going after the daughter of, I don't know what his title was. He wasn't a baron, but he was really well off. And the vampires take interest in his daughter and others on this big estate, playing off of going back to Dracula and bringing in coffins and materials and working to overtake everything. And what's interesting is that you have Harmon Robles, who I know I just butchered it, but I'm trying, folks. I'm trying.
I'm going to insert Kenny saying it like 3 times here again.
Thank you. He was Mexico's vampire.
Oh, he's so good.
He had done tons of vampire movies, but in this, he's more in the role of Van Helsing.
Yeah,
he's the one who's trying to solve the mystery of why the daughter's sick and what's going on, and he's aided by 2 of his good friends, Super Zan and Mil Mascaras. Isn't that great? Like, how many vampire hunters would be better off if they had masked wrestling friends.
I remember years ago in the Facebook group, this might have been after the first year of the show being in existence. I don't remember when, but I did a poll of favorite vampire hunters. And of course, we had Van Helsing and Dr. Waldman from the Frankenstein movies and Captain Kronos from Hammer. But I was quickly admonished for not including Santo, Blue Demon, and Mil Mascaras, for not having them for Monster Hunter options in this poll. And yeah, I love that it's just part of the storytelling culture down there. You got a scientist who needs help. He'll just call his luchador buddy. In No Mascaras versus the Aztec Mummy, it's the police who need help, so they call their luchador buddy. In the Champions of Justice films, they need help. What do they call? The team of luchador buddies. I love that.
Yeah. And Kenny was talking about the first ones that he saw and how it moved him and really influenced the way he looks at these pictures. One of the first ones that I saw was Santo and Blue Demon versus the Monsters.
Oh, there you go.
And to me, that's psychotronic superhero wrestling to 11.
Yep.
Everything is in that movie. It is a carnival ride. It'll overwhelm your senses. And because that's kind of where I started, I've been pulled along for all of these crazy adventures where you have your masked wrestlers who are like Batman, or like we were saying before, like Buckaroo Banzai, these guys who are super smart, have labs, have all this experience, and are fighting for the greater good. And so it's easy for me to really get wound up into these films. And that worked for me on The Vampires of Koyakan.
Frank Schildener, author, Monster Kid Radio regular. I actually invited him to join us today, but he wasn't able to join us. Has compared the big three to various superheroes. El Santo is your Superman. Blue Demon is your Batman. And Mil Mascaras is your Doc Savage. And that makes total sense and tracks with what you just said. Because Doc Savage, man of action, but also super smart, raised by scientists, has all of that stuff going on. And Mil Mascaras is that. He's a big, tough guy, but also got that scientific approach to things, and I love it.
Yeah, I haven't seen his first movie, but after watching The Vampires of Koyakan, I did a little bit of research on him, and I know that he's your guy, but I kind of got the sense that he came in at a unique moment where Blue Demon was injured, and Santo was having some contractual issues trying to get worked out to make a movie. And that's when Mil had his opportunity. And he was one who, even before getting started, had taken acting classes and prepared for it. And with his first movie, I understand that they tried to really build up a mythos and a backstory for him.
It does feel that way to me too. That it really sets the tone where a lot of these movies, there's not really a continuity. In fact, when I mentioned Triumph of the Champions of Justice to you before we started recording, you're like, is that the third one? I have no idea. I guess so. I think so. They don't really have a strong continuity. You've got Blue Demon. He's a hero. That's all you got. Whereas with Mil Mascaras, there at least was an attempt to set up an origin story with the first film to try to lay the groundwork for what this character would become. And that one's a black and white one. It's okay. It's not one of my favorites.
And the movie's actually called Mil Mascaras, right?
Yeah.
1966.
It's self-titled film.
Yeah.
He didn't make it, but yeah.
Cool.
I would like to see him wrestle in person. I don't know if he still does. I know he was as of a few years ago, but he's the only one of the big three that's still around. Still has an online presence. He's still out there promoting Mil Mascaras and doing his thing. I'd like to see him in the ring. I've seen clips. I've seen videos. He performed for the WWF, for crying out loud. Eliminated himself from the Royal Rumble because he didn't want to put anybody else over. But yeah, he took his role very seriously.
And he also seemed like he had a lot of fun doing it. I had read a article I found online where he was being asked about some of the tension between Santo and Blue Demon and the rivalry about screen time and lines and getting to be the hero at the end. And Mil Mascaras seems to have the attitude of, hey, the more wrestlers, the better. I'm just happy to be here. And the more big names we can get on the poster means more people in the seats having a good time, and we're getting paid better.
Yeah.
So it seems like he took a lot of things in stride. And when he's fighting vampires, he's serious, but it still seems like he's having fun being in these films.
He does seem like when he's given the opportunity or put in a role of authority or seriousness, yeah, he's all business. But then there are other movies where he's portrayed as the third wheel who gets lost at the buffet line. And that's fine too. And he seemed totally okay with it because he was getting paid. And that was the role. That was the job. And that's something that I totally respect. As a wrestling fan, I respect that a lot because the wrestlers don't get to choose what they do in the ring. They get some a little bit, but they don't tell their own stories. And the ones who do it, no matter what, with pride and make it seem like they're having a good time are the ones that I'm drawn to. And maybe that's another reason why I'm drawn to Mill.
Yeah. I do wish that Blue Demon had more of a backstory on screen.
Yep.
I feel like we get a lot of Santos mythology in a few movies where it seems like there's always a Santo. Like through time, he comes back again and again to wrestle and to take on evil. And with Blue Demon, it just seems like he's there.
He just showed up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder too if some of that is because Santo and Blue Demon had careers in the, like good career, decent careers in the ring before the films really picked up. Whereas Mil Mascaras kind of came in for the movies. He wasn't made just for the films, but that's where his rise started was with the films, I feel like.
So the audience needed to be filled in a little bit,
Yeah.
told more. Whereas all the people in Mexico knew Santo. They revered Santo. They knew Blue Demon. So maybe that is part of it.
And it's one of the reasons why I roll my eyes every time they talk about doing a new superhero movie and they're going to say, and we're going to start with his origin story. It's like, we know why Batman is the way he is. We don't need another origin story. It's one of the refreshing things about the last Superman movie is that we didn't spend all that time going through his origin. We already knew it because he's part of pop culture. We don't need that. With Mill, we needed it at the beginning, but quickly, we know who Mill is. We know what he's about. He's about awesome.
Yeah.
He did a movie with John Carradine, for crying out loud. How awesome is that?
Yeah, I saw that. He did a couple movies with him.
Yeah. What luchador can say that? Seriously. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely see an influence, especially since we've been talking about other Mexican horror films of Universal and of what was going on in Hollywood, influencing what was being made in Mexico. But to have Carradine himself, that must have been amazing.
Carradine never said no to anything. As long as the money was there, he would take it because he would funnel all his money into his various theater projects. But yeah, he did a couple of movies down in Mexico, and so did Mill at the same time. And it's great. And it really makes that 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game interesting. I actually used to do a bit on Christopher Mims' podcast called The Creature Connection, where instead of doing Kevin Bacon, I would connect everything to Creature from the Black Lagoon. And he challenged me one year to do Ship of Monsters, which is a Mexican horror monster romp with a cowboy musical number, I think. And I'm pretty sure we used John Carradine to kind of jump over to the Universal side of things.
Sweet.
Get to that connection. Yeah, that's awesome. The Los Vampiros, I have not seen the other one. Enigma of Death or something in Spanish is what I'm seeing here at the Lucha Wiki. I don't think I've seen that one, but I have seen the Vampire Girls or Los Vampiros. Carradine, I believe, plays, he's not Dracula, but he's like the head vampire guy in it.
Great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm for that.
I'm in.
I need to see that one.
So Mill's fighting vampires. He's fighting mummies. He time travels. There's one of these movies where he goes back in time because of a haunted painting. He's doing everything that a superhero needs to do. I love it.
Yeah. The one with the painting is one I really want to see.
Frank and I talked about that one, I think, a couple years ago, if not last year. But yeah,
I'll have to look it up after I watch the movie.
That's another.
After I watch the movie, I'll go back and find that episode.
There you go. There you go. And he teams up with Santo and Blue Demon to fight spies in the Bermuda Triangle area. And it's just awesome.
The Bermuda Triangle, was that their final time on screen altogether?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it's late 70s, right? 76, 77.
Yeah. Mystery in Bermuda. Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
I have. I even have a t-shirt based on that available in the TeePublic shop, and I'll make sure there's a link to that, but go check it out. Yeah, but it's the three of them fighting spies in Bermuda. Now, he'd done some other movies since then. He even appeared with Santo's son in one, but that was the last time the big three got together.
Yeah. One thing that Kenny touched on, and something I had heard recently that I would add to, is talking about how with these movies, everything, including the kitchen sink, would be thrown in. Like there didn't seem like there were any rules or boundaries as far as what they could borrow from, or mythology that they would add, or monsters that they would add, or spies, or really cool convertibles. Like it was all there. And I was just listening to Guillermo del Toro in a conversation. He just was honored by the BFI,
Oh, good.
the fellowship. And they were asking him about the range of movies he's done. And with Mexican cinema, how there seems to be a lot of confluence of different ideas and different stories and monsters and that kind of thing. And one thing that Del Toro added that to me goes right back to all of these movies is the fact that in Mexico, they don't have a high regard for a lot of institutions because of corruption and everything else. And so they don't feel like they're boxed in by those rules, that their culture has come from everywhere. Like lots of things have added to the Mexican culture. And so it's just a part of their storytelling that whatever compels them, whatever moves them is what passionately becomes part of the movie. And one other thing that he said that I also think applies to Mexican horror and to Lucha cinema is that he said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said he doesn't believe in high art and low art and there being the divide. It's either stuff that moves you or stuff that doesn't. And all these Lucha movies, man, they move me. These classic Mexican horror movies that we've been watching and talking about, they move me. So to me, that's what art's about.
It almost goes back to what I was saying that Kenny has said so many times over the years, is that the only bad movie is a movie that bores you. And these movies are anything but.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am going to, over the next year, work on learning how to roll my R's and getting Del Toro on the show to talk about a luchador movie. What do you think? Are those achievable goals?
Work at it. All you can do is try.
One can dream, right? If anybody has any connections to Del Toro's people, tell them we'd love to have him on the show.
Yeah.
Matt and I promise not to geek out too much.
Ooh, it's
too
pretty
much.
hard.
Too much.
Pretty hard.
What are you talking about? He'd geek out with us. Come on. Based on what we know of him, he'd geek out with us. And he loves this stuff too, man. He loves the luchador stuff. And how can you not? Anybody who's into this stuff, it's not they're okay. You either love them or you're wrong. Or you don't. I've never met anybody who is aware of these movies where they're like, whatever. There's a passion about them. Even if they don't like them, there's still a passion about it.
Yeah. I just wish more people would give them a try with an open mind and a free spirit to have fun. Because if you can just enjoy the ride, you are in for some tremendous entertainment.
Yeah.
Unlike anything else. I think that's one reason that these movies really clicked with me was that, like, and I think you might agree in a lot of ways, is that we've seen tons and tons of movies.
Oh, yeah.
And there are some big budget ones that have a high level of quality, lots of money been spent, a lot of attention had been put into it, but they don't move me. It's predictable. It's something I've already seen before. It's along a trope that's been played out over and over again. Like you mentioned how they redo origin stories over and over again. And there's no surprise.
Yeah.
With Lucha cinema, I'm surprised every time. Even though they borrow tropes and they revisit the mad scientist a million times, but it's done with such love of life and relish and melodrama that they surprise me. I'm always surprised and entertained by these pictures, even the ones with bad pacing, even the ones with some scenes that may not work or stuff that's been cut in from other movies. It's always a surprise. It's always a reinvention that I get a big kick out of.
One of the things that surprised me about this one, The Vampires of, how do you say it?
Coyoacán?
Sure. What surprised me about this, not just the cool luchador action, because I'm there for that. Baron Braddock as the vampire. His transformation sequence, I really dug. He's carrying his victim, his woman, away, and he's walking toward the camera, and they keep cutting back and forth to him in various stages of transformation to full-on vampire monster. And I thought that was really well done for a low-budget movie that you didn't have a lot of the technical capabilities that movies up in America were probably employing at the time for the budget and the subject matter. I still thought it was really well done, the way they just did simple cuts to show him getting more and more vamp. And they eventually go to full-on vampire bat sequences. And again, it's just a simple cut. There's no lap dissolve. There's no morph. There's nothing like that at all. It's just at one point, the wrestler is holding a guy by his hands. Jump cut to him holding a vampire bat in the exact same position. He drops the bat and the bat fights away. I thought that was very cool. It happened so quick. And I was in that. I'm surprised they not only did it this way, but that it was so effective. For me, anyway. What did you think of how that was handled?
Oh, it totally surprised me, especially the first time that Baron Braddock changed, because it reminded me of the Wolfman.
Yeah, except there wasn't the dissolve.
No, but they took advantage of the shadows, because he's on the move, he's walking, and as he would come in and out of shadows, it would change more.
Yeah.
And it was a total surprise. I didn't expect any of that.
No clue it was coming. I knew Baron Braddock was the bad guy. I mean, part of it's because he looked like Jess Franco, but we knew he was going to be the bad guy, right? But to have him transform on screen like that, did not expect.
Yeah, he was played by Mario Sid. He was also one of the co-writers of the story and the screenplay.
Okay.
So I think that he probably was able to get what he wanted a little bit into the movie as far as his look and his performance. He's great. He's one of the great counts, on-screen counts for me. He has that aura. He seems powerful. He seems dangerous. The straight cuts in this are stunning in how effective they are.
Yeah.
When Mil Mascaras and Superzon are investigating and the giant bats fly in, and the way that it cuts from the bats to the minis, the micro wrestlers as vampires was insane. And the fact that they would match edit the shots, but it would be straight cuts.
Yeah.
It was also one of the first times in a Lucha movie where I felt like the fight sequence at that moment was done with a lot of edits. Where in a lot of other ones, I don't feel like we get that.
A lot of times you'll just see Blue Demon slugging it out with somebody in a 2-3 minute shot in front of something. It's a medium shot and they just are slugging at each other and that's that. This one really felt deliberately put together and constructed with the cuts and the angles and the way the camera
point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was very well done. Very well done.
It surprised me. It woke me up.
And after the first or second of the jump cut to the man, to the bat, to the mannequin or whatever, I started finding myself watching. Can you see the other actors in the scene also jump or change position? And not really. There might have been a few times here or there, but they did a really good job of standing still while they were swapping out people for bats.
Yeah.
And it cut pretty quick, so even if they did move a little bit, you didn't notice.
And the one thing I found hilarious is after that, every time the mini vampires would come in every fight after that, one of the sound effects that they had in those fight scenes was the sound of bats, the scree of bats. And it was just, it was bananas. I thought it was so funny. But that's the thing about these movies is that they have a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah.
You have wrestling, you have comedy, you have horror, you have romance, you have a lot of attractive people. It's surrealist, it's psychotronic, but bottom line, it's fun.
Yeah. You've said the word psychotronic repeatedly today.
I think it's because we've been talking about the color, in color Lucha cinema. I feel like it gets there.
Yeah. A word that has become pretty popular with cult cinema to describe these types of movies, that sort of thing. Michael J. Weldon is the man who's responsible for popularizing the term with his Psychotronic Film Guide, usually culty, low-budget films, sometimes exploitation. But when I hear the word psychotronic come out of your mouth, I will always think about these movies because that's exactly what these things are. They're low-budget, they're obscure, but they're fun and goofy and crazy and zany. I was telling y'all at the beginning of this that I was watching Triumph of the Champions of Justice, and it starts with, in the middle of the action, it does not start with here's the story, introduction, act 1. No, we're like in act 3 already. You've got these two guys running from the Champions of Justice, and they're climbing up an electrical tower. And they dissolve into a green gelatinous goo for some reason. They only have 2 minutes worth of power. What? None of it makes any sense until you watch the rest of the movie. Then you realize, okay, this is what's going on and all that. But you jump right into the action with this crazed energy, psychotronic energy. It's just something special, man.
Yeah, the Champions of Justice trilogy is outstanding. I think we talked about it. I think it was Lucha de Mayo 2024. You and I
will talk
dive
about
in.
Champions of Justice all the time. That's the movie.
If you want to watch some Lucha cinema, that's a place to go. That trilogy is amazing.
I direct people to that. When I start talking about luchador movies at work, when I start talking about luchador movies at work and I'm talking to folks about these types of movies and they have never seen one and they have any interest at all, that's the one I direct them to because it's got so much going for it. It is so over the top and crazy. And if that one doesn't turn you into a fan, I don't know if the other ones are going to do it either, but this one is so special. Right down to the introduction of all the characters on their motorcycles driving around the streets of Mexico at night. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Just having you talk about it, I can hear the music in my head. I can see the sequence. So good.
It's so great. It's so great. I think, and we've talked about this before, one of the reasons why it's harder to really get into these movies up here in the States is that they're not as easily accessible, that the way the world works when it comes to cinema, world cinema, here in the US, these are foreign films. They're not always available dubbed or subtitled or whatever. It's harder to get a hold of a lot of these movies. I'd like to think that in the day and age of streaming and the internet connecting us in ways that never before dreamed possible, it's easier to find them. And that's why I try to show them on the stream every May, which is another plug for the stream because I'm going to be updating that later tonight. We'll add some more movies to the mix, but there's just something special about these movies that I feel like crosses borders. You and I don't speak Spanish. You can pronounce some of the words better than me, but we love these things, man. They weren't made for us. We don't care. We love them so much anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the way that movies work with distribution and borders, I think is part of the problem.
Yeah.
I also wonder if another thing that kind of works against these movies at first glance for a lot of cinephiles and stuff is that they think of them as mexploitation or cheap Saturday matinee fare or something, but it's so much more than that. And I don't think it's fair to label them exploitation when they're films made by a culture for that culture. Is that exploitation? I don't know. I think it's a little disingenuous to label it that way.
Sure. If you're going to have to label something, labels exist, genre labels exist not to promote the film, but to sell the film, right? What I mean by that is publishers will put a genre label on something so that the bookstores know which section to put it in. When I worked at Blockbuster Video, we had the action horror sci-fi section or the drama suspense section, or what I called the horror movie with big budget section, because Silence of the Lambs had no business in the horror section. It's not a horror movie. It's drama suspense, because we want people who would not be caught dead in the horror section to be interested in renting it. The labels, blaxploitation being probably the biggest one when it comes to these types of movies that are on the outside of mainstream, at least for us here in the States. It's a valid label, but I don't think there's anything negative to take away from that. Mexploitation gave us Robert Rodriguez.
True. Okay.
Gave us Del Toro, maybe, in a way. So is it negative to even call it that? I don't know. I don't think so. And I don't think there's anything negative to take away from it. Sure, maybe it's mexploitation. I happen to blaxploitation films. I happen to a lot of these exploitation films. Whatever. I don't think that's a negative thing. And I think sometimes people do assign a negative connotation to calling something that. I think you're right there, for sure.
Yeah. You and I are on the same page. There's so many great movies that maybe don't find an audience because of the way that they are labeled or categorized. But I think for folks that are just open to interesting movies and entertainment, there's so much out there that widen your vision, expand your horizon, open yourself up to having a new, different experience. And these Mexican movies do that on so many levels.
Yeah. Back when I thought I'd be a filmmaker when I grew up, for those of you playing along at home, I haven't said that in at least a couple of weeks. I was going to a community college in Cheyenne, Wyoming, where I took my video production course over and over again. That's where I set myself on fire. Anytime I tried to incorporate, every chance I had to every time I had a chance to, I tried to incorporate my video production class homework into homework for another class, kind of double dip, right? And I remember I was taking a humanities class and we had a chance to do an art project. And I thought, I'll just show one of my videos from my video production course. And of course, we talked about it, we introduced it and that sort of thing, and introduced why it was important to do that kind of art. And I remember showing something called Shocks, which was a nonverbal emotional video assignment. That was what it was called for the video production course. It was basically two guys in a car running over people in the mall parking lot to the Jaws soundtrack. But when I showed that to people, I introduced it as these are the kind of movies that I like. And I like all movies, really, except Westerns. I don't really care about Westerns because I was a dumb kid back then. And I had somebody come up to me after the class and say, you really ought to open up your mind. And Westerns really are like a special kind of storytelling, and they've influenced so much. And he mentioned John Carpenter. He loves Westerns. You should check that stuff out. And I'm so glad I listened to that guy, because now I love Westerns, especially spaghetti Westerns, which I really established my love for when I worked at Dorado Films. But yeah, Westerns are awesome because it's an awesome form of storytelling. These movies, awesome form of storytelling. There's so many different ways to tell stories and different stories that can be told all around the world, man. Watch this stuff. Open your mind, man. Open your borders to different movies from different worlds.
Yeah.
And I think from Atlantis, the Blue Demon and Santo have taught me anything. You don't trust anybody from Atlantis. But
yeah, not to be preachy, not to...
Yeah.
Been trying to send a message. One thing I would say is that for me, as a personal experience, seeing movies from other cultures and other parts of the world, even if they're in languages I don't understand, helps me see how all of us human beings are alike in a lot of ways. We share stories. We feel joy. We feel pain. We have times of jubilation and times of loss. And we're all the same like that. And we all tell stories to help understand these things. And being open to world cinema, including Lucha cinema, allows you to see that we all might have different languages and cultures and things, but in a lot of ways we're the same. And by sharing those stories, not only are you learning something and getting entertained, but you can see that we're all the same. Humans are hardwired for stories. Goes back before cinema, around the fire.
Yep. Yeah. And different cultures learned how to communicate those stories in different ways with the shadow puppet theater of Japan or luchador stuff in Mexico. I know I just made a huge leap in terms of year and time period, but really it's a way that we're all connected, and it goes beyond any kind of trite Joseph Campbell hero with 1,000 faces, whatever. It goes beyond that. There's that scene in the movie Matinee where John Goodman is talking to the kid about the cave paintings and telling the story of the Great Hunt. What if we made the mammoth even bigger and now it's an exciting story and all that? And that's what we do. And sometimes those stories have to be settled in the ring, and sometimes, Mil Vasquez is there to do it for us.
And they involve monsters and heroes.
Yep.
And mad scientists with their evil plans.
Maybe Frankenstein's daughter's going to show up for a little bit. It's a lot of fun on the surface, but then when you dig a little deeper, you can really see the connection. It makes the connection with another people, another culture, another time, even in our case here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. We watch these movies from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, but we really haven't changed all that much.
Yeah. And inside these Mexican horror movies, you jump through hundreds of years too.
True.
Santo, Mil Mascaras.
Yeah, Santo's doing stuff in the Old West with a leper colony, while Mil Mascaras and Cannibalists are jumping through time because of a haunted painting, and Blue Demon's doing whatever he's fighting the infernal brains and who knows what else, and the hellish spiders for us, keeping us all safe, darn it.
That's right.
Oh man, I love Lucha de Mayo. I love spending some special time with these movies. I know this year we did it a little differently because we only did 2 days that were luchador specific, but I think moving forward, that's what we're going to do. We're going to at least have half the month be luchador movies, and then the other half maybe luchador, maybe Mexican horror. And y'all heard Kenny, we are doing that Los Lobos. Is that what it was called? Next year?
So, yeah.
Lobos. I think no, I don't think I did show it on the stream. I thought about it at one point. Lobos. That was it. Either way, Kenny will be back next year to talk about a Mexican werewolf film from the 60s. And Kenny may be back on before then. Matt will certainly be back on before that as well to talk about something else, I'm sure. We've got a lot of really cool movies coming up, even this year. We got the new Godzilla movie coming out later this year. I want to do some kaiju stuff in July when we do another theme month here in a month. So we'll do some kaiju stuff, and maybe we'll do another roundtable and try to get more people to show up for a kaiju roundtable. That'll be fun. That'll be a ton of fun. And you can hear me butcher another people's language.
But it isn't for lack of trying or a lack of love.
That's true. That's true. What I need to do is reach out to Dominique. She usually can do the Japanese for me. She spent some time over there. So she can get some of the words. Or my stepdaughter, Jen. She's just not interested in the movies, but she knows the language. So maybe I can get her to help me pronounce some of these words for me. Anything else coming up for you? Any final thoughts about Lucha de Mayo before we put the pin in it for this year?
Lucha de Mayo is a month of celebrating these films, but it's something we can celebrate all year long. And the conversations we've had here last week and this week have me entirely tuned in to watching more movies. I really want to dive into more Mexican mummy movies and more vampire movies. We've touched on it around certain actors and filmmakers, and it seems like there's a lot of rich vampire stories that have made the screen in Mexico. And I definitely am looking forward to diving into those and watching those. And maybe we'll talk about them in between now and Lucha de Mayo or not, but I'm certainly looking forward to watching those.
La Loba, that was the movie. La Loba. Not
Lady Werewolves. All I heard was Lady Werewolves. Yeah. I was there.
Not to take the wind out of what you were just saying there, but yeah, La Loba. Yeah, we will talk about Herman Robles.
Oh, that sounded good to me.
I didn't roll my R. It was more of a German sound, which may or may not get filtered out in the edit.
I think Kenny would be okay with it. I think Kenny would give you the thumbs up if he was still with us in this episode.
Hey, Kenny, how would you say that? And then I'll insert him here.
There you go.
I know you did a number of these movies, man. We'll have to take a look at his vampire flicks and the Nostradamus movie. So there's a handful of movies that are like a Nostradamus trilogy, but I really think it's more vampire stuff. I don't know for sure. I've even shown them on the stream, but I've never really sat down to give them a solid watch. So I don't know what we're in for, but we'll check it out. Good stuff coming up. Matt, thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. I love that we get to talk movies, man. Before we started talking, we were concerned that it was just going to be you and me, and I'm glad Kenny was able to join us for a few minutes. But I don't think we're ever going to have a hard time coming up with something to talk about when it comes to movies. A couple of film geeks that don't have any other film outlet than a podcast.
It's always a heck of a lot of fun, and it's thought-provoking, it's entertaining, and it sends me in other directions, doing more history lessons and excavation of the story behind the stories we see and watch. And it's very rewarding, and I love doing it, and I hope the listeners enjoy it too.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Bride of Monster Kid Radio. Thank you for checking it out. Thanks for being here. And I'm just going to assume that you're doing what we always ask you to do. So thank you for sharing about the show on wherever you hang out online, whether it's Facebook, X, Reddit, wherever it is on your social media outlets. Please consider sharing the show and letting people know about what we do here, and let people know about what we did for Lucha de Mayo 2026. This was a good one. This was a lot of fun. I will never get tired of watching luchador movies. I just won't. It's not in my makeup, and I think I can pretty much accurately say definitively, I will never, ever get tired of watching these movies. And I don't think I'll ever get tired talking about them either. Well, we might not talk about a luchador monster movie until next year. I don't know if we need to wait, to dip into some more international monster cinema. Although, as you heard earlier, we've already got 2 of the 4 weeks planned for Lucha de Mayo 2027. It's going to be a good time. I've had a grand time. So thanks to Beth, thanks to Robert Kelly, thanks to Matt Rashley, thanks to Kenny for being part of the show this month. And, it's just a grand time. Talked a little bit about Fan Fusion, Phoenix Fan Fusion. It is one heck of a huge convention, pop culture convention, comic book convention, that sort of thing. And as I said, Beth is going to be out of town. She's going to miss it. So I'm going to be running around solo. I will probably look like a mess, limping around, hair, well, actually, I don't have hair to be all askew, but it's going to be a long weekend, and I plan on recording as much as I possibly can, dipping into panels, doing interviews with people if they'll have me. It's just going to be a grand time. If you are going to be at Phoenix Fan Fusion, please let me know, because I would love to meet you in person. I'm a hugger. You want a Brother D hug? Look me up. Unless you're not a hugger. I mean, well, look for me anyway, and then we'll just do like a hearty handshake, or maybe even a fist bump. You can fist my bump. Just saying. Check out phoenixfanfusion.com to learn more about the convention itself. And again, if you're going to be there, please let me know. I would love to meet you, and I might even put you on the show if you want. It's not, a condition of meeting me. I'm just saying the more the merrier, Going to be networking a lot that weekend as well. So Beth and I did mention Gathering of the Ghouls. That is coming up later this year as well. Let me double check the dates on that. Think it is in August, like she said, but we do have a panel that will be happening on August 23rd. Okay, Gathering of the Ghouls, August 22nd and 23rd. You can learn more about it over at gatheringoftheghouls.com. Our panel will be on Sunday just before noon. We're going to record it. But again, if you're going to be at Gathering of the Ghouls, we would love to meet you. And, like I said, I'm a hugger. Beth gives even better hugs, unless you're not into that thing, and then we'll just bump fists or fist bumps. You know what I mean. But check out gatheringoftheghouls.com as well. And if you check out Gathering of the Ghouls or Phoenix Fan Fusion, let them know that Bride of Monster Kid Radio sent you. Speaking of upcoming events, I want to mention something that's happening in my neck of the woods. I was shocked to see this. I had no idea that the Chandler Museum hosted a Film Friday series, and Friday, June 12th, admission is free. They are showing 1925's The Lost World. This is a film that we've shown on the stream repeatedly, because it's in the public domain, but it's also really cool. Stop motion special effects by Willis O'Brien. You want to see precursor to King Kong? You want to check out The Lost World. It's going to be showing, like I said, on June 12th at 6 p.m. at the Chandler Museum. I haven't let them know that I'm coming. You do need to reserve your spot, even though the cost is free. I think they probably have limited seating available. I'm going to go check it out. And again, if you're in the area, let me know. I'd like to check it out with you. It's going to be a good time, because this is a good movie. And this will be the first time that I've had a chance to sit down to watch this movie where I wasn't like monitoring a chat because I'm showing it on the Twitch stream or anything like that. I'm just going to sit down and let that movie wash over me. Maybe with some popcorn, if they serve popcorn here. I've never been to the Chandler Museum. Don't know what I'm in for. I will let you know. That'll be a good time. And speaking of the stream, while we are coming to the end of Lucha de Mayo, I have not updated the movies that are showing in the stream in a while. So why don't we do that? I'm going to keep the movies that are there, and then I'm going to expand it and try to add a few more films to the mix. What do you think? You down with that? I'm down with that. So we're going to show some more movies in the stream. Go to twitch.tv/Monster Kid Radio. You can watch the movies for free. You can follow the channel for free. And if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can even subscribe to the channel as part of your Prime subscription. I was going to say for free, but technically, you know what I mean. And one of the movies that I'm putting in there is Kenny's short where the 9th Son of Santo fights Guanji. 11th Son of Santo fights Guanji. So that's going to be in the mix as well. We're going to keep the movies that are already there and kind of showing too. But for some reason or other, I'm not showing Champions of Justice. What is wrong with me? So I'm going to add a few more movies to the mix. So go check that out. If you subscribe or even if you follow, you'll be notified every time there's an update or that goes live. I know it's been a rather passive experience where I don't actually pop into the chat and communicate with y'all because my work schedule isn't consistent, so it's kind of hard for me to do that. But I do appreciate it when you guys pop in and say hi to the chat and check in to see if there's anybody there. And a handful of you have even been rating the channel lately, which is super cool. Thank you for doing that too. Of course, you can find links to everything that I've talked about here over at monsterkidradio.net, which is, of course, where you're going to send everybody if they want to know more about what we do here on the show. You're going to find our contact information there as well, monsterkidradio@gmail.com. is our email address. You can even email us an audio file, and I'll put that in the mix. Or you can just call and leave us a voicemail at 360-524-2484. I will let you know that when I played that voicemail earlier, I found a whole bunch of voicemails that have been sitting there that I didn't realize had been sitting there. So we are going to be planning probably a feedback-centric episode where we catch up on some of this stuff. Also, we're still collecting your favorite Vincent Price movies. I'm going to do another Vincent Price movie with Beth at some point, and when we do, we'll include that feedback into that episode and talk about our favorite Vincent Price flicks. What Vincent Price movie should she watch next? Well, I've been thinking about Last Man on Earth, but I'm curious as to what you think. And again, you know how to let me know. Email me, drop me a voicemail, or even reach out to me on one of our various social media platforms. Facebook, X, and Blue Sky, and Instagram are the 4 places that I typically hang out on the most. So go check us out there. You can also find us on Patreon, patreon.com/monsterkidradio. You can follow us on Patreon, become a follower, a subscriber for no money. Be a free follower over there, because this is the only place that I announce what's coming up on the next episode on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. If you want to be in the loop, this is where you got to do it. Follow us over there. Of course, if you become a paid patron, that helps me out a lot too, and we really appreciate your support that way as well. Bride of Monster Kid Radio is a Team Death production. All original content of Bride of Monster Kid Radio is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 Unported license. You can learn more about Team Death, our other projects like Death Designs, Mail Order Zombie, the Team Death YouTube channel, and more at www.teamdeath.com. Remember, death is spelled D-E-T-H. All previous episodes of this podcast, as well as the original Monster Kid Radio podcast, are available at www.monsterkidradio.net. Please rate and review Bride of Monster Kid Radio wherever you download your favorite podcasts. Midnite Surf is copyright 2025. Nite Impetus, it's off their 7-inch vinyl release. The Old Haunted House. You can find them at niteimpetus.bandcamp.com. And as I said earlier, Nite Impetus is spelled NITEIMPETUS.bandcamp.com, or follow the link in the show notes, or go give them a follow over on Facebook. However you check them out, let them know that you heard about them here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. My name's Derek M. Cook. I'll talk to everybody next week. Ciao. Or adios.